Hey everyone! Welcome back! I am back today with more Mob Psycho 100. You guys, I'm really excited to be watching today. If you're joining me early today, you know what it means. It means you are one of my awesome patrons. Thank you so much, and as always, I'm sending you up those big old hugs right through that screen. And if not, still thank you for joining me today. I'm really glad you're here. I do hope you'll consider supporting me that way. The link to my Patreon is going to be in the description down below. So, we had a really good episode of Mob Psycho last time. We actually got to, I thought they were going to like build up the explosion thing for like the whole season. And we got to see it in the last episode. Like it jumped quick. Like as soon as poor Mob started like flashing back to like kind of getting needled by other kids and his crush kind of like, come on, get a clue, you know? Oh, it jumped up. It jumped up right up to 100. So I'm still kind of learning about how his powers are working. My understanding of it at this moment is that he pushes everything down and also kind of like suppresses his psychic powers. And that's what makes everything build up and up and up and up. And when his emotions finally like get to a certain level, 100%, he explodes. And that kind of like, it really looked like it made his psychic powers stronger too. I don't know if that's true, but wow, that was cool. It was very, very cool to see him at 100%. He looked pretty awesome and had just like a totally different look. It was really, really cool. And I should have known there would be something like that because we kind of have that on One Punch Man with Saitama. Like he has kind of like the eyes most of the time, but then when he gets serious, like his whole like countenance changes. So, kind of makes sense we'd have a similar effect here. He's still in the body improvement club, but the girl in the telepathy club is making a really like now that she knows he's got psychic powers, she's like all about like getting him on board, like even more so than before. So that kind of tells me that in this world, like psychic powers are still kind of like, I mean, they're obviously like, I think a little bit more prevalent and accepted than like in our world, but there is still not like, oh, there are many people with psychic powers. Like it's not like an everyday thing, let's put it that way. And she thinks that's going to help her with telepathy, which is really like a totally different thing, right? Like what he has is almost more like telekinesis than telepathy. But I don't know, maybe he just hasn't unlocked that yet. Who knows? Again, like a lot of world building going on. So we kind of don't, like, he doesn't even really know the extent of his powers. You can tell. So we're kind of finding that out along the way. But I really liked the last episode. The smiley cult was pretty interesting. And I'm just excited to see where it's all going. So what do you say we go ahead and get started on the next episode of Mob Psycho 100. Let's go. All right, you guys, that was such a good episode. So we have a really interesting kind of counterpart to Mob now. We have a new character. And I think it's really cool to see, like, you know, here Mob just really just wants to do all these things that like a normal person could do, and it just seems very oblivious to the fact that like psychic powers put him in a great position to like, if he wanted to use those powers in that way or kind of even like abuse them, he could be like popular with girls and popular with the girl he wants to be popular with. He could kind of use them to manipulate, make things go his way. But he's like sewn out about that. And because the girl kind of like scoffed at his powers, like I get the feeling that's another reason why he's like not into using them a lot. But for the most part, it's like the moral reasons for not using them, like not using them on people to fight. He just kind of like doesn't seem to put a lot of stock into his powers at all. Like he knows they're dangerous and he suppresses them, but he also like doesn't really think that they're useful to him whatsoever. And it's funny to have the little cult spirit leader guy kind of being like, what are you talking about? And it's interesting that he should say like, yeah, this would look very, very different if somebody else got a hold of these powers. So it's kind of fun to have an introduction to a new character who literally does everything opposite to Mob involving his powers. So this is going to be good. This is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be fun for Mob to see like the full extent of what his powers could be used for, just for like his own information. I know he would never do that, but like he just really seems to be under the impression that like they're useless. And everyone, like, there's so many things that everyone around Mob can see that he can't see. Which is funny because he can see the spirit world and sense it that other people can't see, but all these, like, common sense things, like the fact that Reagan is a scam artist, and, you know, the fact that his abilities are really, you know, like, not a waste. All these things that, like, he's just kind of oblivious to, people around him can see. So it's a really fun like contrast, because like he wants everything that his brother has, his brother wants everything he has. There's a lot of like grass is greener syndrome going on here, which I think is fun, and I think it'll be really cool to see this new character interact with Mob. I got the impression he said like his power, he barely sensed the power, but I also at the same time kind of got the impression that like the guy could sense that maybe like Mob was more powerful than him. I don't know if I was just misinterpreting that. Maybe he was just surprised to meet another person who had psychic powers. That could be it. But I think personally, like if I had to guess, Mob is probably way, way, way more powerful than this guy and just hasn't even tapped into like his true power yet. And he's ramping back up. He's already like halfway back there to exploding. So who knows when that's going to happen, but I'm sure it's going to be good when it does. Better pray that this guy stays away from Mob's crush, though. I could see that sending him to like 500% really easily. So, all right, guys, I'm learning more about Mob. I love him, but at the same time, I'm like, honey, no, like you're so oblivious. Why? But great world building, great character building. We're getting new characters. It's just fun and interesting to see how things are unfolding. And yeah, so am I the only one who thinks that the little cult leader spirit looks like Slimer from Ghostbusters? Because I think he kind of does. A Slimer was like this. He was like reverse, you know, like his shape was like round at the top and then like cut off the bottom. Whereas this guy is like, he kind of looks like Slimer and, oh my god, what's his name from Howl's Moving Castle? The fire. Oh my god, I'm going to kick myself for not being able to remember that later. But he kind of reminds me of like a combination of the two of those. So, yeah, so he's got his own agenda too. So that'll be interesting. I wonder if he'll just like give up and eventually just be like friends with Mob. But for now, he's like, he's got his own goals in mind. He wants to possess Mob. So, Dimple is the spirit's name. I just saw it on the screen. I was just calling him like the little cult leader guy. I don't know how I forgot that his name was Dimple because it was pretty, the LOL cult made a pretty big impression. So, all right, guys, that was so much fun. I really can't wait to see more. I'm really happy that you guys recommended this show to me because I'm really having a blast with it. So I hope you had as much fun as I did. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please be sure to join me next time and we will watch it together. Bye for now, guys.